Hey, what's going on everybody? My name is Cruz and welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to discuss some of the common mistakes that we make here in our home studio and how we can avoid making those mistakes. Let's get it. I'm currently working on some music, and so I've been recording on a weekly basis, whether it's very minimal, kind of quick recording sessions to lay down ideas or actually working and dissecting a song to piece it together. And that's a very different process than what I do here on a weekly basis, which is basically creating content. And though they go hand in hand, I feel like the recording process deserves its own attention and its own approach, especially when wanting to remain creative. Ultimately, that's probably going to be my main focus in this video, is to give you tips and tricks on how you can stay motivated and creative during a process that kind of can be, a motivation depleting process if you're not careful. And so let's jump right into it. Common mistake number one, not setting yourself up. Now, not everyone has a studio space or even a studio altogether. I totally get that, but you want to at least have a sort of a temporary setup if at all possible, especially when working on music on a daily basis. But more specifically than that, I want to talk about how you can set up your DAW to be able to get your process going a lot quicker. And that is by utilizing pre-created session profiles. There are enough obstacles and challenges when it comes to working with recording gear and computers and your DAW to get started immediately, especially if you feel motivated or you have just written something that you want to lay down right away. So creating those session profiles will definitely help you. Most DAWs allow you to do this, and you can customize them as much as you want to. So for example, for my typical recording sessions, I want tracks already open for drums. I want tracks open for enough guitars. I usually will record anywhere between 8 to 20 guitars, don't tell anyone, bass, keys, maybe pads. So I have all of those tracks already open and set. Even if I don't get to use all of them, they're ready to go. You can even take it a step further by already including in the tracks themselves your favorite plugins, compressors, EQs, so on and so forth. This is especially helpful if you're working on an album and you want a consistent flow throughout that entire album. Starting every session from scratch is kind of a challenge, so definitely consider creating session profiles. They help. Studio mistake number two is not spending time with your gear to get good tones before you actually start recording. And since this is a guitar-based channel, I'm going to talk to you guitarists. I give you permission to tinker with your pedal board and all of your gear way before you even get started with any type of recording. If you're like me, then you like printing your effects and your guitar sounds and committing to them. That basically means that you are committing to the sound that you're recording. And if you're going to do that, it's very important that you spend a lot of time cultivating the sound that you are recording in order to be certain that that sound is going to be the right fit. Some of the tips and tricks that I use is actually playing music relatively loud through the very speakers that I'm going to record, and I play with that music and guitar. If I have a hard time hearing myself, or if I feel like the sounds that I've come up with aren't matching some of my favorite songs, I'm probably not coming up with good recording tones. They may sound good on their own, but when it comes to sitting in a mix, it may not sound that great. Tip number three, keep your instruments accessible. This was a big one for me for a long time. I was the kind of person that wanted to keep my guitars put away to protect them as much as possible. Yes, even my relic ones. But keeping that stuff out has definitely increased my productivity level. And this isn't just for my recording sessions. This is for what I do here on a weekly basis on the YouTube channel. If I hear a sound in my head, the fact that I can reach for a pedal or a guitar or a bass immediately and have very little setup time is very, very important, especially when it comes to remaining creative and working fast. And though I don't like to feel rushed when I'm recording, I also don't want to be held back by the setup process because I could lose momentum. You know what I mean? So keep your instruments out. Biggest mistake number four, and this is actually kind of not a mistake, but it is, and that is we produce ourselves, at least too much in the beginning. One of the things that I do personally, and maybe you do this as well, is that I don't write music in a different place and then come with a finished product to the studio. I typically will record my ideas immediately here. And so when I'm doing that, it's easy to want to put on my producer hat and start cutting parts and like working on things that I shouldn't be working on just yet. It's important that I just remain open to my creative process and just lay down whatever I feel should be laid down in the moment to best suit the music that I'm currently recording. And don't get me wrong, most of those parts that I record, I'm talking about like 50 to 60% of the guitar parts that I will lay down, I will not end up using in the session. I will ultimately cut them out or, re-record them a little bit differently, or maybe even play the same part but with a different instrument such as a keyboard to avoid the mundane sound of the guitars doing everything. But it's important that I don't try to accomplish that at the very beginning when I'm just in the writing stages, when I'm just trying to lay down ideas and see what works, because you could literally stifle yourself to the point where you just end up giving up on a track. Just allow yourself to be creative. You definitely won't regret it. And lastly, the fifth and probably the biggest home studio mistake that we make all the time, and that is we wait for gear to get started. I have definitely become a victim of this thought process over and over again. I have been wanting to work on the record that I'm working on right now for over a year now, and I just did not press the trigger because I knew I wanted certain pieces of gear here in the studio before I got started. Don't get me wrong, I completely understand wanting to have the best gear possible that you can get your hands on to make your music sound great. But don't wait till you have the gear to be creative. It's just too easy to become stifled and dependent on this gear when really being creative has nothing to do with any of these things. We can still write music and produce music without needing to wait for all of this stuff. It's good that we have it. I'm 1,000% appreciative of it, having good preamps and EQs, but it's just not necessary to wait. I've heard some amazing sounding music recorded with some of the most minimalistic gear, just a small interface and just a few plugins, and it's just sounded great. So be creative. Don't wait for this junk. It's cool, but it's not needed. Now I do have one bonus tip, and this is a topic that has become very, very meaningful to me. I'm very passionate about it. And that is, to be fully creative, you have to recognize when rest is needed. I recently took a week off from content creation, and it was very, very needed. I just needed a break from the social media grind and the constant working on videos and so on and so forth. I even took a break from recording. So this is one of my first days back here in this studio for almost a week now, and that hasn't happened in a very long time. But I just got to the point where I became fatigued, kind of mentally, even physically. I was tired, and sometimes that happens even spiritually, where you just you're feeling disconnected and you need to reset a little bit. It affects your creative process, and music doesn't flow out of you in the way that it should, and you don't want that. So I found that taking this week off was one of the best things I could have done. I feel rejuvenated, I feel eager to get started again, and I'm very committed to the process, not just of recording, but this YouTube channel. So that rest was absolutely needed, and I encourage you, if you're at a place where you're just grinding and pushing yourself so much that you've become depleted, take some time, just like a car, find a gas station, fill up the gas tank, and then get back on the road again. I can't recommend it enough. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Please comment below. Let us know some of the ways that you combat some of the more popular home studio failures that we've all encountered. Your opinions are always appreciated, and I love interacting with you guys in the comment section. So let me know your thoughts for sure. While you're down there, please do all of the things that help the channel grow. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon so you get alerts every single time I upload a video. Check out some of the affiliate links that I have in the description box as well. Clicking on those links don't cost you any money, but they do help the channel if you purchase through them, just a little bit. But if you want to donate to the channel directly, feel free to do so by clicking the thanks feature that YouTube now includes in all of our videos. Thanks again for watching, and until next week.